So for this next video, I'm going to show how to create a Vnet and VM using PowerShell. And I already have videos like that, but they're longer, so I call them like overview. I made like a really long video, like 30 minutes or so. So this one should be shorter, but there needs to be, but you need to have a storage account in place so that the PowerShell command can use it to configure boot diagnostics for the virtual machine. So just create a storage account, create a new resource group, and the only thing to do is make sure it's in the same location as the virtual machine you're going to do. Make it storage v2, LRS, and the hot tier. And then once you create it, and then I'll get started on using PowerShell after it's ready. Okay, so creating a storage account. But anyway, I'm gonna just go over the code and I'll explain it to you as I copy and paste it in, I guess. So first we're gonna create a variable to create a subnet configuration. So it's new AZ virtual network subnet config, and I'm naming it default subnet, and that's the address prefix. And then create a variable for creating a new virtual network. So it's new AZ virtual network, and I'm going to create a new resource group called new RG. So that's what I'm changing this here. I'm just going to give it a different one so we could create a whole new one here. And the location is East US, same as the storage account. But anyway, the virtual network is called new Vnet, address prefix, and the subnet is this that we just created. And then I'm going to create the public IP, so demo IP, and it's a new AZ public IP address, same resource group, same location, and it's going to be called new IP allocation method dynamic, so it's going to be dynamic, not static. Next is rule config, so I'm going to create a network security rule. So new AZ network security rule config, called rule RDP, protocol TCP, inbound, priority 300, so it goes first, and source address prefix is there. Source port range is, well, it's going to include destination address prefix, and destination port range is 3389, so RDP, and access is allowed. Next, create the network security group, so new AZ network security group, same resource group, same location. It's going to call it new NSG, and the security rules is the one that we created before. Okay, now I'm going to make a new network interface, so new AZ network interface, call it new NIC 890, whatever. Same resource group, same location, and the subnet ID. So you get the vnet dot subnets 0.id, and then you want the public address IP address ID, so you get the demo IP.id, and then network security group ID is security group.id. Okay, next is credentials, so you get credential, which it's going to prompt for the account credentials for the VM when you use that. And now let's actually create the configuration for the VM. So it's new AZ VM config. So the VM name is new VM, size, set AZ VM operating systems, Windows, calling it new VM, credentials, you put that in, set AZ VM source image, so you get the publisher, Microsoft Windows Server, offer Windows Server SKU 2016 data center version latest, and then add AZ VM network interface ID and nic.id. And then last, we actually create the virtual machine. So it's new AZ VM, same resource group, same location, and VM and the VM configuration. So create subnet, create Vnet, create public IP, create NSG rule, create NSG, create NIC, prompt for account credentials, create VM config, create VM. Alright, so that's a lot. So let me create this and I'll come back. Alright, so I'm in the Cloud Shell, now we can start. So let's do the first one. Demo subnet config. And it's just going to give you warning about it, don't worry about that. I thought I created I forgot I switched it to demo RG. That's fine. I'll just I'll change it to demo RG and I'll just change each bit of code. Okay, I'll come back when it's ready. Alright, so let's go check it out. So that's the storage account I created, demo RG. But I'll get rid of that one. Okay, here it is, new Vnet demo RG. And here it is, new Vnet. So if we want, here we could do echo Vnet, and here you can see it's in demo RG east. And so important thing to know is just the ID. So here it is. And also subnets. So there's one connected. Here's the ID of the subnet. And also, if you want to know more, you can do echo more specifically about the subnet, Vnet, subnet. I spelled that all wrong. Vnet dot subnets, and if you have multiple subnets, you want the first one in an array. You do bracket 0 close, and because this is, I mean, we only have one right now. This is the one that's attached to our virtual network. But if you have multiple ones, you want to specify the first one is how to do it. And so here's that, just to filter it all out. And if you wanted to actually get like a specific thing like the ID, then you just use that ID, and boom. So that's how you could like parse out data that you want to look at. You know, the zeros, the index. Alright, so next thing is going to do, let's clear the screen. Let's make the public IP. Oh yeah. Come back. Alright, now let's do the rule configuration. And you don't have to put in a resource group, so it's good. Next is the security group. And we'll change that. Now the NIC. RG. And credentials. And VM configuration. VM name. And then last is actually creating the virtual machine. And it says, since VM is created using premium storage or managed disk, you need an existing standard storage account since we didn't disable boot diagnostics. So that's why I created that storage account earlier. And that's what it's using. Alright, it's created. And we can just verify it. Here it is. We got the RDP rule, we got our virtual network. Yeah, so it works. That's how to create a virtual network and VM using PowerShell. Quicker way. Quicker than 30 minutes at least.